All right, welcome back, everybody. So we're going to do a little bit of quick, three things in this segment. A little bit of quick chipping, kind of just some sponge chipping. I want to make it look a little less pristine across the mech because it looks very, very clean right now. And that's fine if you're going for a clean kind of parade scheme, but in the artwork we're kind of following along with, there is a fair amount of light scarring, some scratches and stuff. It's also got some burn damage and whatnot. I don't think we're going to get into that so much. I would have done more of a dirty, like dinged up battlefield kind of approach if I was going to do the whole mech like that. But so what we're going to do is we're going to have two different colors here. I've got a piece of pluck foam and some tweezers. So what I generally do is I'll get a piece of foam like this that you'd have for storing your models in, and then I'll rip off the end so it's nice and rough and kind of random like that. It's not all one uniform solid end. And then I use tweezers so I can reach everywhere my fingers can't reach. We're gonna have this kind of light blue color down here, and then this kind of like light gray color. I try and do 2 or 3 different shades as well when I'm doing the chipping, just so it's like it wouldn't all be perfectly uniform light blue, or it wouldn't be all dark brown or black. It's going to have different shades depending on what stuff kind of landed on the armor, what settled on it, how far down it's been scarred, what it's been scarred by. So I just kind of tap the paint. I get a little bit on my sponge like that, and then I'll just try it on the open spot over here. You can kind of see that I tap it off, and it just leaves very, very light speckling. So I'm just going to do that on just a couple areas. See on his leg over here. And generally I'll try and think about where contact would be made. Let's try a little bit of the gray. That baby blue is a little too light. Light blue, at least, anyway. And a lot of times, yeah, like I was saying when we were doing edge highlighting, I won't do straight edge highlights. I'll do kind of dots. And this is kind of another way you can do that, because generally it'll hit the tops of pieces, but it won't hit the entire area. And it is a little bit tough to tell. It does look quite light, like almost a white in the artwork, but we don't want to go that bright. Almost like a mix of the two would be nice. In some spots. Yeah, it's tough getting a. It's gonna mix it with a brush a little bit more. It's tough getting a good consistency. You don't want it too wet because then it's just going to kind of splotch or streak on the model. But then too thick and it doesn't come off very well on your brush, consistently at least. There you go. That's kind of a nice muted blue. There you go. And generally I would do a dark brown or something as well, but there doesn't seem to be any of that in the art, so we'll just leave it alone. just be careful. You don't want to put it on any colors that you've already done different colors. If I was doing a brown or something, I would do all the painting and all the decals first, and then I would come in afterwards and I would do a kind of a uniform couple browns or rust colors, or a couple dark gray or black chips as well. But that's too blue. But again, we're gonna have an oil wash, and we don't want it pristinely uniform. We were trying for something similar to the image. So as soon as you're not doing completely pristine kind of parade style or not camo, but paint schemes, you have a lot more wiggle room with what you want to do. What you want to do with what you want to try. You can texture and add some layers. See on the arm there. Now instead of having just two straight kind of edge highlights, we've got a bit of a I think that looks a little more believable, a little more realistic than just clean. But you could do all this with a brush too. Just use the edge of your brush. Just add in some dots. Just make sure you're consistent so there's no areas that are completely missed. Generally, the exterior of the mech, or the parts that would be smashing into stuff or bowling stuff over, would be the ones that have the most agitation or deflecting shots, you know. And the side of the torso. Looks good. Yeah, it does just help to break everything up and have it be a little more natural feeling than straight solid panels. Yeah, that looks pretty agreeable to me. Okay, so next we're gonna, I saw there was a couple red triangles, maybe some warning signs, and some caution stripes. We'll throw a couple of those on quickly as well. I think that's good. Yeah, less is more when it comes to kind of digging it up, but I like that. That looks more natural for sure than it did without. So let's chuck away my pluck foam. Okay. So for these caution stripes, what we're going to do is we're going to block in solid yellow, darker yellow, and then a brighter yellow. We'll do a yellow bar, maybe a wash on top of it. Generally, these are small. These are really small. Small in a mech in general, and small in individual components of a mech. But if it were larger, I would definitely wash it with like a sepia wash or a brown wash to get a nice kind of fade effect across the caution stripe. I usually do all the yellow first, and then I put the black accents on top, and then I come in with the gray after the black's done and edge highlight with the black. But because the caution stripes are going to be so small, there's less need for small individual highlights on the colors. It's going to be hard to see to begin with. Okay, so that was Chimera colors. You could use Aberlin Sunset from GW, and like Flash Gets Yellow would both be good. We'll get some of our water and matte medium here. Okay, so we'll put down the kind of base blocks or the base stripes with our dark yellow. Looks like the internal leg plate. It looks like it's got a small one on each. There you go. So it's very delicate, precise work. I want to make sure that I can see and you can see. I'm just dropping a bit of paint on, letting it dry, coming back. Kind of build it up in a couple passes. And then it looks like on the arm, kind of the arm insets, we've got some as well. So back here, and then again matched on this one, and then we'll probably do 2 more on the back. There's a couple more. I don't know if we're going to do all of them. Okay, we've got those 4 started. And we'll reinforce this one here. Let's try and keep it as straight as possible. Nice and clean, clean edges. Okay, so that's most of our yellow down to start with. And I think we'll probably let's put 2 in the back. They're kind of small and stubby in the front. Unfortunately, they got that red and white stripe right down the leg. It would have been nice to go completely across the bottom of a panel, but we can do it on the back here. So there we go, straight across like that. Straight across like that. And the pigments are quite strong. Let's do one up top too. Between the lasers. There are lasers. I looked it up. I knew there were 6, and I couldn't find all of them on the front, so 2 are in the back. And again, just thin layers. We don't want to build up any texture on the model. I think the front side's probably happy. Maybe one more. Reinforce this one. Make sure the yellow is nice and solid before we add the second yellow, because otherwise it'll be streaky. You want a nice uniform solid color before you put your next highlight on. You don't want to see any blue through this yellow, let alone through the next one. All right. So I'm not going for full coverage with this lighter, brighter yellow. Just kind of in the center, leaving a little bit of the old yellow showing. So we get two different tones happening there. Yeah, I think it's going to be worthwhile to do some kind of a sepia wash, some kind of a wash, just to add a little bit more variation. This looks fine, but it's also a little bit bright. So yeah, that does look good. Okay, so we'll give it a second to dry. This yellow dries really fast as well, so you don't have a lot of downtime or waiting to do. In the meantime, let's grab some black. I'll get some black over here so we can do our stripes. I've got some gray existing from previously. Shake up our wash here. So this is just Seraphim Sepia, an old one. With a little bit left in it. I'm gonna grab some. Throw it on the palette here. Thin it a little bit. So we'll just wipe a little bit off. Okay. I want to come in with a super strong loaded brush. Oh, that's a little bit dark. So I'm going to tone it down a little bit, but I don't want to make it brown. I think that's pretty good. That's fine. That's fine. I'd say normally that's darker than I want to make it, but we want to kind of match the feeling of the other darker components on the mech. So a bright yellow is probably not ideal. Yeah, so that knocks it down just a little bit. It's got a little bit of a variation across the yellow bands though. I'm going to just throw the lid on this thing and see if that makes it so it's easier for you guys to see. So it'll stop zooming in on all the different colors. So we've got a little bit of panel breakup with the blue everywhere. We've got our yellow bands in place with kind of one color, a highlight on top, then a quick wash over top of them just for some variation. And now we'll go to do our black striping. So again, we'll thin it out a little bit, and we'll just check it on a paper towel. It's a little thin. Add a little more paint. That's good. That feels good. Okay, so I try and make them run in the same direction on each side of the mech. So let's make sure you can see and I can see. So that one's kind of going this way. Now I want to do these ones going the opposite way. Yeah, that looks fine. I like that. Yeah, much easier to do your yellow shading before you do your black. And all these little details definitely add up to make a more cohesive looking figure together. So again, we're going to do kind of slashing outwards. Just small, steady sketches. My wife and one of our kids is downstairs in her greenhouse prepping some plants, so that's what the voices are. If you hear anything, same thing. We're flipping around our sides there. Some of those are a little. There's one black line that's a little wonky. I think we'll come back and fix. Try to keep them evenly spaced if you can. Again, from a foot away or something. More than that, you're not going to be able to tell, but I don't know. You'll know. Okay, so I'm going to come in with the strong yellow. Again, because this pigment is so strong, you can't really just cover it up over the black, which is not usual for yellow paint. Chimera Colors paint is very, very tough stuff.
Okay, I'm just going to reinforce a couple of the yellow spots up here as well. Yeah, look at that. Hey, yellow right over black. Look out. Just a couple of those black lines were a little too thick.
But I like that. That looks good. I think we got them all. Okay, and we did have a couple red kind of triangle accents. Looks like on these little canisters, kind of on the PPC arm. Yeah, they go kind of on there. There's a little red triangle. So I'm just gonna grab one red off the shelf. I'm using just AK Dirty Red. Fiston Red would work. Corn Red would work. Add a little bit of water. Thin it down. Check consistency. Yep, happy with that. Okay, so on those canisters, and the arrows are pointed off of them. So, very tiny. Just like that. There we go. And I will grab a little bit of red from the other day. So this is a Chimera Red, which is thick to start out with, even thicker after sitting on the palette for an evening. But I'll use that as an interior highlight for the reds here. There it is. It gets so thick that it doesn't really want to come off the brush. So. That's not just because it was left out. That's just a very pigmented paint. Get the rough shape on there. Perfect. So I think we're looking nice there. I'm actually going to take a little bit of this light blue that we were using for the chipping earlier. Just going to wake it up with some water. And just do a little bit. A little bit of some dots. There you go, yeah. So just to kind of accent where we had a lot of the kind of speckling build up, especially with the colors we weren't too crazy about. And then the undersides of the shoulder pads here, we're just going to kind of throw a couple dots like that. Kind of simulate our wear and tear. Like that. And anywhere I see a solid blue line by itself. So I like using the sponge method because it gives us a bit of that everywhere very quickly, but I do prefer to come back in and reinforce as well with a brush. afterwards. So again, looking for any places that are wholly pristine. And we're gonna, oh, that's a little, yeah, see there I was doing too much of the brush on it, not just the edge. If you just tap the edge lightly, you'll get nice little dots. You can get a feather it down an edge. Just a little more water. And each step that you do adds a little bit more to the entirety of the model. And when you're all done and you're holding it up and looking at it, it's tough to see kind of the forest for the trees kind of idea. But each of these little steps definitely add to the cohesiveness and making it gel together nicely as a finished product. So anywhere that I want to, if I've messed even edge highlights in general completely on a spot or two, I can use these kind of little small dots to just draw people's eyes, let them see that there is an edge there or there is a facet there that does change shape. It's pretty fast. If I'm doing things in kind of the grimdark style or like a very realistic, dirty, a lot of times this is the only edge highlight I'll do. I won't do any straight lines. Just maybe 2 or 3 passes of this with successive brighter colors. So we'll mix up a little more. Because that is feeling good. This looks nice. Instead of trying to use old paint that we're waking it up, we'll just mix some fresh paint. There you go. Much better. Same thing, we're just touching just lightly touches. So it effectively looks like an edge highlight. It's just broken up. Yeah, I'm excited to paint the blue here because I went catching up on some novels I bought. I think I got them from Aries. No, I think maybe this one was Fortress Miniatures. The two places I buy all my stuff from the States from. And the Warriors trilogy. I've been really enjoying that. But the first book there were Justin Allard was smoking all the Davions. Got me all fired up to paint some blue. Yeah, this is good. This is much nicer. When we did just the sponge chipping before, it was not quite what I was hoping to have as a final product when it came to the chipping distress. But I feel like this, in conjunction with that, this is nice because we already have a base, and now we're just refining that. So you can see on the back here, it looks much more realistic of some kind of like dinged up weathering. We don't have any rust chips. We don't have any like down to bare metal, but we've got a lot of wear and tear. You could use a dart. You could go over the yellows, I guess, the yellows and the blacks there, and do the same. I don't think we're gonna get that intense. But if you wanted to keep them uniform with what we're doing here, and I'm gonna do a couple like that, just across the whole length of my brush. Awesome. And we're just about ready to do our black oil wash. That'll be the last step, I think, when it comes to the main model here. We're going to do the barrel heat effects first to round out this segment, and then we will jump over to the oil wash next. And I think we'll be wrapped up on the model, and we'll have to make the base. So I actually printed off a bunch of Battlefield debris that was just released by Epic Basing. It was a pleasant surprise. I love their stuff. But I can always grab the file so I can print off at home and build whatever kind of biome or background that I want to utilize for miniatures. And I just came out with a ton of city rubble and destroyed concrete I-beams, or metal I-beams and concrete chunks and stuff. So you can buy them. You can buy them straight from their store. It's just a much more believable setting than just a lot of times you just use like brass rod and plastic card kind of heaped on top of each other in some sand. Yeah, see, legs looking a lot better. So I want to make sure that I'm not missing any areas, because it'll be pretty easy and apparent to pick out a spot that has none of this done in comparison to all the spots that have a fair amount. But yeah, we'll build a little bit of an urban rebel base, I guess. I was thinking of getting a catapult, part of a catapult to use to have them stepping on like in the image, but it's not quite the same pose. I'm slow enough and talk enough that we probably don't need to be painting two different kinds of mechs. All right, so I think this is good. Pretty happy with that. Again, you could do as much or as little as you want. If this is way too many steps, then obviously don't worry about it. Rein her back to where you're happy, but I'm hoping I'm at least pointing out that doing multiple techniques in multiple areas successively on top of each other really helps to bring it all together. Okay, awesome. So we're going to do some quick burn effects on the weapons. So for that, we have... Actually, I'm going to stop it here. We'll restart.